The balancing act of a horror comedy is no easy task. This is especially true when your movie is balancing other genres. Dark fantasy, comedy, horror, creature feature, and thriller. Death of a Unicorn was presented as a zany horror comedy with a compelling but simple concept, only to greet audiences with a fantasy thriller gore fest that overcomplicates in almost every aspect. The people at A24 might have made a decent movie, but they sure as hell missed a chance at satisfying multiple target audiences. The only way you can enjoy this movie to the fullest is either closing your eyes and plugging your ears, or being an individual who loves wasted genre-changing tone shifts, enjoys intestines outside their natural point of origin, is fond of unicorns but likes disrespecting them, and of course, loves Paul Rudd to the point where they can forgive every stupid and shameful move he makes as the character Elliot. And there are a lot of stupid and shameful moves. It's time to talk Death of a Unicorn, so let's get horned up. Actually, do you think we could rewrite that? I feel like something just sounds a little off. The start of the movie establishes our story quite well. We see the large difference in personality between our two main characters, Ridley and Elliot. Ignore me if I accidentally call them by their actor names. Jenna and Paul are sharing the screen with a nice blend of comedy and depth to their characters. For now, I was enjoying myself watching these two drive deeper into the woods to go meet Elliot's boss. Maybe I'm just feeling some Get Out vibes, but this seems like it's a very warm setup that will then get very dark. Though, the Get Out vibes continue while hitting a deer in the road. Or, wait a minute, that's not a deer. What could it be? A fucking unicorn, obviously. I mean, look at the marketing. They weren't hiding this concept whatsoever. Just before whacking this unicorn, though, I noticed a decision that this moment and many others choose to make. They don't actually make the jump scares jump scares. Let me explain. For a jump scare to work effectively, you need to make it work in a way that seems... Hey, this is Gio in the edit. I realize now this is a video medium, so there's no need to explain aloud. Here's what I consider a real jump scare from Get Out.
It's Rod.
And here's a B-Tech jump scare in Death of a Unicorn. You see the difference? One actually has the scare happen right up against the calm. The other shows you the scare before it happens, blending the calm and scary, creating a lesser feeling of both. Horror needs to be actively reaching for those scares, not spoon-feeding them. This decision, to me, might be the biggest horror whiff of all in this film. And the one we'll talk about later might be a worse fake jump scare. Anyways, the unicorn seems to be dead, despite a live-looking horn which Ridley touches, and boom! We are tripping DMT. Now, here's a crazy tone shift for sure, but this doesn't hurt the movie yet. It's too early to know what feels on brand and what doesn't. And a fantastical element in a unicorn movie already makes sense. Now we get to enjoy this psychedelic journey until it softly fades out. Actually, the trip is ruined when Paul Rudd bludgeons the unicorn in the head with a crowbar. Oh my lord! I guess this is as good a place as any to get into the unicorn brutality. So I'm gonna talk about the class themes. After deciding to put the dead unicorn in the back of the car for some reason, Elliot and Ridley meet the Leopolds, consisting of the Sid from Toy Story lookalike guy, the girl who plays on Kit's team in A League of Their Own, and Richard E. Grant. The Leopolds seem nice, mostly eccentric and backhanded, but nice. Their property is most definitely nice, and is adding to my inkling that the shift to a much darker tone that will surely happen is going to be perfect. For now, we focus on Elliot's shitty parenting ability. This father-daughter relationship between Jenna and Paul seems like it's going to be our only grounding point in this film. We have wacky characters and mythical beasts all surrounding this one unexaggerated human element, the parent-to-child struggle, and vice versa. Both these two have a hard time getting to each other, and this dynamic is only exemplified by what's missing in both their lives. Elliot's wife, / Ridley's mom, is no longer alive. This explains a lot of the frustrations and becomes the anchor point for the emotional body of the film. Now, let's just put a pin in that and come back to it when it's important. Let's get back to what you really want to see. the unicorn brutality. Oof. It's still all human on unicorn at this point, but that doesn't make it any less brutal. After this unicorn in the car caused a problem while looking at the surely dead beast, we get some great comedy. Nobody wants to call it a unicorn, and I just thought this was so clever.
Horse-like mammalia, vertebralia, would that be the correct classification?
No, but it is horse-shaped with some sort of protrusion or growth.
Right, that's my working theory too. Feral horse. Mad, tumor-ridden, jumps in the middle of the road. Not the fault of any one driver, per se.
It's a fucking unicorn.
Since I won't get into it much more, the comedy in this film was actually pretty great, all thanks to Will Poulter. Will Poulter is an absolute standout in this movie, playing the jack-of-all, master-of-none Nepo entrepreneur. I actually laughed out loud at points with him, so from a comedy perspective, at least with his character, there was gold. A lot of the other comedy comes from Will's parents, and they lean into a theme that I normally like, the ultra-rich, eccentric couple. They go heavily into the prudeness and ego-ridden motivation of these rich people. Again, normally something I like. In Death of the Unicorn, though, I think these characters felt too much of a caricature rather than a real human. I guess I prefer the evil billionaire couple that is believably real. The tone finally starts to shift into horror following Jenna's story. She's becoming both stressed out and intrigued by the unicorns. The music is starting to become unsettling. The nighttime flips this mansion into a haunted one. Right now, I am absolutely ready to go full horror mode. Plus then a harrowing dream sequence that gets me real engaged just right before the genre flips to sci-fi. What? The biggest jump scare of the film ends up being these guys in hazmat suits who came to the property to study the unicorns. This was a huge letdown for me. We're 30 minutes in, I was ready for the unicorn horror, guys. What the hell is this? All these scientists coming in changes the whole vibe of the mansion. Before, Elliot was here to accept a job, and now he's helping these rich fucks develop medicine using unicorn horn dust. At first, Elliot goes along with studying this dust as much as needed. Eventually, this medicine ends up being the cure for cancer, and this is, as Will put it,
That's the biggest one.
the drug ends up helping Richard E. Grant feel young again, and is a pretty good cocaine substitute. This is really just a miracle drug. And why is it part of the movie? Or why is it this big of a part? Why are we pulling out the synth music and hitting a Breaking Bad style cooking scene? Like, this is all just making us wait longer for what we actually want to see. Obviously, the uni drug is a big component of the film and a lot of the themes in this film, but did we really have to derail our entire story to make it so? Since I want to get to the unicorn horror, and I actually control this video you're watching now, let's skip there. You really just missed some more unicorn research and Paul Rudd dropping the ball on parenting. Elliot. Sorry. He just won't back his daughter with anything and is becoming a much more frustrating character as we go on. At first we were aligned equally with these two, if not more leaning towards Paul Rudd. Now we're skewed so far to Jenna that Paul is just pissing us off. He won't support Ridley's very good history of unicorns presentation. So when the power goes off and it does go full horror mode, I was already mad at Elliot. Now we want me cheering for him to make it through this E.T.-esque tunnel. This near halfway point begins with the unicorn horror, and I'm sorry, but it sucks. You have the classic stupid decision-making horror trope, like with Ridley going outside right after reading about deathly unicorns. This I can put up with, but some of the mechanics of these next few scenes I cannot. The first sign I was not going to like what was coming was a very slow reveal of a stabbing until we eventually saw this beast of a horn break through. This unicorn is not what we had at the start. It's got dark fur, and although we won't see the full thing for a while, the menacing snarl and alarming stature makes this a cool-looking creature at the least. And it's also nighttime, so the CGI doesn't look terrible. It's just the gore that I am not a fan of. The first kill really starts it, and then the gore just ramps up from there. Although there are occasional lulls, the second act is a blood and gore fest with unicorns ripping people apart with their horns. Plus this unicorn meat just making you want to puke. They're just going full-blown gross out. And any chance that they have a time where they could take it to horror, they don't. Here's another shitty jump scare, for example. Ridley is hiding in her car, and instead of having the unicorn slam into the window, we cut away and see the run-up before the impact. You're fucking with me, guys. Why are we not going into horror? We've got heads being stomped on and unicorns coming back to life. Why does this feel so much more thriller? Is it because of all the crappy internal logic pulling? Unicorns sometimes having smell, or unicorns sometimes wanting to knock the door down, whatever fits your script. The reason this movie feels so chaotic is because they didn't go hard on a single element. At some point when making this film, there had to be the decision that this story was too all over the place to be flipped into a full horror movie. They tried to hit in the middle with multiple genres and ended up coming short on all of them, at least for me. The worst part is, for the film to work for anyone, it still has to have this level of groundedness. We get that the true horror isn't present, but we still have this whole dark fantasy thing going on that can work as long as the human element is there. Elliot carries this human element on his back because he needs to get redemption. He already wouldn't listen to Ridley, and after that first unicorn attack, he's willing to go against his daughter again. This time, choosing to hunt down more unicorns instead of listen to her. This is so unbelievable. The question of whether or not this is forgivable is completely off the table. Of course it's not. Elliot doesn't stand up to the Leopolds until the very last second, and that's when I understood. Elliot was gonna have a good sacrifice moment. And that I want to talk about, so we'll fast forward again. Past Richard E. Grant and Tia Leone's deaths. Past Will smoking the horn dust. Past Anthony Carrigan, who is in this movie. And let's settle on the very final moments of the film. As I was expecting the movie to end with Jenna riding her unicorn off into the pink and orange sunset wearing a goth get-up, the film actually started subverting my expectations. I thought that Elliot was going to die when he pulls this sacrifice moment, but he survives that. The next expectation subversion comes when they hit the Velociraptor allegory so on the nose, and then just when I thought I had it right again, as Elliot is fading away, he ends up being saved by magic. He should have died, but of course, two horns can mend one broken one and one broken human. Guys, this movie doesn't work if you don't kill Paul Rudd. Sure, you wanted his arc to come around, but the guy didn't do nearly enough while he was living to be brought back to life. Passing on in his final moments would not have been satisfying, but at least redeemable. Only at the point he breathes his last breath feeling so. Instead, it means nothing. But hey, because he's Paul Rudd, who cares, right? Great dad, happy he's alive. At this point, I fully turned on this one. I didn't like the cops showing up and arresting humans for what humans clearly couldn't do. And then the unicorns breaking them out of the cop car? What the fuck are we saying here? That the unicorns are what helped them break out of their binded relationship? I don't fucking know. If you like the ending, I won't blame you. I will say in my rewatch, the wife/mother line did get me a little bit. I just think that Paul Rudd's character was so frustrating. Then trying to end the movie in an artistic way, I just didn't like this movie in the end. I guess because of that, I'll just end this YouTube video very unartistically. If you're gonna make a horror comedy, make a horror comedy. Don't get lost trying to relate to all audiences or hit a deeper theme. Just find an emotional anchor and use your concept as your vehicle to complete an arc around this. Now that's horribly oversimplifying how we should learn from this film, I know. But if I can give one piece of advice to you many studio executives and directors watching, don't disrespect your own idea. This movie did that by not just taking unicorns and treating them with unhinged brutality, but by taking what audiences expect to be a horror comedy and blending it into so many genres that even IMDb doesn't have enough room to fit them. So if you're scrolling through HBO Max over the next couple days and you come across Death of a Unicorn, when you put it on, just look at the person next to you and get all horned up. Because trust me, you'll rather watch this movie distracted. And with that, thank you, Colleen. Specifically you, Colleen. And of course, to everyone else who watched this one, thank you. This was a interesting script. I feel like as my, or just process in general, you know, because the movie kind of felt the same as the script. I was holding on, and then it just something ruined it for me and I fell into a state of distress. And I think the same thing happened probably in this YouTube video. Either way though, I hope you enjoyed, and I have never once done this before, so it's going to feel really awkward, but I just want to say that I am currently making the push for January to get monetized on YouTube. That's 1,000 subscribers, a milestone that I've obviously been thinking about for a really long time and didn't expect to get here quite this fast, so kudos to you guys for helping me out with that. But if you want to help out with that journey anymore, feel free to, feel free to subscribe. I've literally never asked for it. It feels terrible, but yeah, there's your call to action right there. There's all the marketing teams that I'm making happy. But yeah, I would shout out my podcast where we get out of the movies and go straight to the car and turn the mics on. It's called Fresh Out the Film, but I won't do that, you know. And sorry guys, I know you're getting a weird angle, very low quality, but my camera died right on the deuces and I refused to go out without it. So with that said, I think we're about done here. So
please use one word to describe the texture of their magical fur.
Low quality deuces.
Smile. Yeah.
Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows. Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows. Pink fluffy unicorns.